Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. We're pleased to be providing you with an overview of campaign planning in DV360 today. Just to let you know before we start that a recording of this session will be accessible to all that have registered today. I'm Michael Turner, Managing Consultant at DQ&A, and presenting for us today is our Programmatic Consultant Greta Bezzini.
Hi everyone.
We both work with advertisers and agencies on their display management and wider advertising strategies. The topic Greta will be taking us through is campaign planning in Google's DV360 platform, which will include a demo of the interfaces planning tool. We chose to demo this feature because we noticed that there was something counterintuitive about its patterns of usage. This is that those least experienced with the platform often use it more than those most experienced. This is not because the tool helps novices in a way that advanced users no longer require. It's often because experienced users developed campaign planning workflows before the tool even existed, and therefore may not feel that they need its help. If this rings true to you, then I encourage you to approach the next half an hour or so with an open mind. So let's move on to the agenda. We'll start with general planning concepts and some frequently asked questions, then move on to forecasting with inventory availability reports, explaining their capabilities and limitations before giving an overview of the planning tool. We'll explore some of its use cases and take you through tips and considerations to keep in mind. We'll then demo the planning tool itself before ending with a Q&A. You're able to submit questions throughout, which I'll be responding to whilst Greta is presenting. If there is a particularly apt question, I may save it until the end when we wrap up so that others can benefit from the answer. I'll now hand over to Greta, who will begin with some of the most basic concepts. Over to you, Greta.
Thanks, Michael. There's quite a lot to cover today, so let's jump right in. When starting to put together plans for your display activity, and especially if you're new to a platform like DV360, you might find it tricky to understand where you can get the information you need. When planning activity in DV360, for example, there are a few questions that you might want to find answers to before you finalize your plans. I've put here a few questions that we've been asked in the past. Some advertisers may wonder how much does a certain format cost, or if there is an average CPM for a certain kind of inventory, or if the KPIs are realistic and in line with industry standards. These are all good questions. However, there isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of answer for these. And this is what we usually reply to our clients, that there isn't an average CPM for a certain kind of format. The only way to find out a realistic CPM for their campaigns is through planning. What we'll be looking at today are two tools that allow you to have a clearer understanding of what inventory is out there and how to incorporate it into your media planning process. So we'll start now by looking at the first tool, IARs. So first things first, IAR stands for Inventory Availability Report. And this kind of report has been in the platform for a while, and it provides a good first starting point to start planning your activity. There are two ways of pulling this kind of report in DV360, and what you'll be able to see through this report are potential impressions, potential viewable impressions, and unique cookies with impressions that are available over a set period of time, up to 30 days. So as I mentioned, there are two ways of pulling this kind of report, one more manual and one slightly quicker. So let's have a look at both. The first one will be from the insights part in the UI of DV360. You can access the reporting area either through the left-hand side menu by clicking on Insights, or in the icon in the top right of the platform. And once you click into that, you'll have the chance to choose whether to go into the reporting area or in the dashboard area, and you have to click on Reporting. Once you are in the reporting UI, you will have to click on the arrow next to New Offline Report, so you'll be able to choose what kind of report to pull. And the one we are interested in today is inventory availability. So This report will look similar to what I have on my screen now. And what you'll be able to do here is start adding your filters. So in order to know how much inventory is available for your campaigns, first you will have to add in your targeting criteria. Some popular ones are by country, so the country you'll be running in, or by creative size, so what kind of formats you have available, and your audience lists. There's many more that you can add in here. And note that the three metrics I mentioned a few slides ago, potential impressions, potential viewable impressions, and unique cookies with impressions, have been pre-filled for you in this report. So what you have to do here is add your filters at the top. I've added a few here myself. And then you have to choose which dimensions you wish to break your report down in. And then you're all set. Let's look now at how to pull this kind of report more quickly. And we'll see later what kind of output you should expect from this. So besides this more manual method, there's also a quicker one that integrates with your campaign setup workflow. So the first step in pulling an inventory availability report with this second method will involve the creation of a line item. So the first thing that you have to do is start creating your insertion order and then your line item and apply all the targeting criteria that you think will be relevant for your campaign. Once your line item has been set up and saved, you can click back into it and you will see that there is a line item reach widget on the right-hand side. So what you have to do here is click on the three dots in the top right corner. There you'll see that a box will appear saying generate IAR report, so you'll have to click into that. This will take you through the reporting UI again, and as you can see from the screenshot, this report has already many filters applied to it. This means that any setting that you apply at line item level will be mirrored in the report. What this will allow you to do is to pull a relevant inventory availability report in seconds. So besides the pre-filled filters, you're also able to add any extra filters that you forgot during the line item creation and dimensions that you require to plan your activity. But let's have a look now at what an inventory availability report looks like once you've run it and downloaded it. So this is an inventory availability report I downloaded from DV360 and opened in Excel as a CSV file. The area highlighted in yellow is the report output. So what I can see from here is the amount of potential impressions, potential viewable impressions, and unique cookies with impressions that were available over the set period of time that I chose in the report properties. By having this information, I can better understand how much inventory is available based on my campaign requirements, and it's a great starting point to build media plans. Let's have a look now at the pros and cons of using inventory availability reports. So, like all tools, inventory availability reports have some advantages and disadvantages. Some advantages are that they are a very quick way to forecast your inventory that is available for your campaign, especially with the second method, as they allow for great granularity with the possibility to overlay multiple filters. They also have some disadvantages though, such as not allowing forecasting for custom affinity or custom intent audiences, and they're not able to combine demographic data with audience lists, so you have to choose one or the other. And finally, it requires you to download the report and leave the platform to see the results. Due to the limitations of this tool, Google has decided to introduce a more complete planning functionality in DV360, and we're going to see it in detail now. So in this slide, I've put a quick overview of the main functionalities and capabilities of the planning tool. The first thing to call out is that this tool sits in a dedicated space within the DV360 UI. This allows for greater collaboration between planning teams and trading teams. At the same time, There are a couple of planning user roles that have been developed to suit advertiser and media agencies' needs to keep access of this area of the platform separate from the main setup and activation area of DV360. With the planner user role and the planner limited user role, media planners can have access to all functionalities of the planning tool without risking to impact ongoing or upcoming activity, as they will not be able to modify anything in the activation area of DV360. If, on the other hand, it's the same person or team that is managing both planning and activation, they can use the planning tool at its fullest potential and also use it as a first step in their setup process. And we'll see later what this means once I go into the demo. Another aspect to call out is that this module, similarly to the audience, the marketplace, and the experiments area of the platform, is perfectly integrated in the UI, making it easier for planners and traders to jump in and out of it without having to log in into different platforms for this. It also shows forecasting information in a clearer way compared to the inventory availability report, and it is supported by a graphic representation as well, as we will see later in the demo. It's a comprehensive tool because it allows not only to add open auction inventory, but also any private deals that you might have with publishers. This allows for greater flexibility in your planning and makes it possible to create a comprehensive plan in the same place where it will also be activated. Finally, it only takes a few minutes to have a forecast in place, and it's easy to access both in-platform and offline, as it can be downloaded as a CSV file or as an SDF file, so a structured data file. And now we're going to look at the most popular use cases for the planning tool. The three main ones are budget allocation, reach forecasting, and format selection, and we'll look at them one by one. The first one, budget allocation, is relevant when you have to meet a reach KPI, such as a percentage of your target audience, and you'll need to work out how much budget you will need to do so. This could be quite tricky without the planning tool. So here is how this area of the platform can help you. When first creating a plan, you will need to add a provisional budget to start with, but this can be changed at any time during your planning process and tweaked until you hit your reach percentage target. The second use case approaches a media plan from the opposite direction. So in this particular case, you might have a set budget that has already been agreed before the planning stage happens, and you will have to forecast how much reach you can get with that budget. What you will have to do in this case is add your total budget, apply all your filters and targeting settings, and get your forecasted reach. And finally, the third use case is format selection. With the planning tool, you're able to mix and match formats available to buy in DV360 until you find the perfect combination for your campaign and until you get the best value out of your budget. Let's have a look at them individually now and see what these three use cases look like in the UI. So starting off with budget allocation. Let's say you don't have an agreed budget, but you have to reach a percentage KPI to hit. Starting off in the planning tool, you will have to input a provisional budget for your campaign and then start adding your products. In this screenshot, you'll see that I've added a few display products, video products, and YouTube bumpers. After doing so, you can check at the top your reach per your provisional budget. If you're not satisfied with that, you can adjust your plan on the right-hand side and change your reach percentage. So I've added that into the red box here. Once you change your reach percentage, your budget will update as well, and you'll be able to redistribute it among your products until you find the perfect mix for your campaign. The second use case is reach forecasting, and this is probably the most popular scenario. Here you will have to input a provisional budget or an agreed budget for your campaign. And in this case as well, you will have to start adding products. In this screenshot, you'll see that I've added a demographic group and a couple of display and video products with a budget of 5K each. This is showing me that based on my targeting settings, I can reach 30% of the demographic group that I chose, in this case, female 25 to 34. After doing so, you can check at the top your reach per your provisional budget. If you're not satisfied with that, you can tweak your targeting settings and plan products until you hit a reach percentage you're satisfied with your agreed budget. Some additional information about census and digital population can also be found in this table at the top, alongside other metrics that we'll touch on during the demo. And the third use case, format selection. We've touched on this a little bit in the previous use cases as well. The first steps are identical, are your budget, products, and targeting settings. After doing so, you can check at the top your reach per your provisional budget based on your targeting criteria. If you're not satisfied with that, you can tweak your products, mix and match them until you hit a reach percentage you are satisfied with for your agreed budget. Some additional information about on-target CPMs and viewable CPMs can be found at the bottom in each product you add, and we'll see these in a little more detail during the demo. But now let's talk about a few tips and considerations to keep in mind while using this tool. So first of all, once you are in the planning tool view, you will have to make sure that the toggle in the top right corner is not on. This is because most of the times you will want to see metrics and forecasts that relate to your on-target demographic and audience. So keep this setting as is shown in the screenshot in the red box. Next one is average frequency. This metric will show you an estimate of how many times a single user is likely to see your ads based on your settings. If you think that this amount is too high or too low, you can always jump in to adjust your plan area in the right-hand side and increase or decrease your frequency caps. Next, make sure you have a look at these three tabs highlighted in the screenshot: reach, demographics, and devices. The first one will show you where you are in the cost curve with a dot over the curve. So you'll see where you are in terms of reach and spend. Then, in the demographics tab, you'll be able to see your audience distribution per gender and per age group. And this is particularly insightful if you are targeting a broad audience. So in this case, I'm already targeting women 25 to 34, so it will show me this. But if I were to target the whole population, I could see the gender split and the age split in that tab. And finally, the device breakdown will show you on what devices your audience can be reached. So you can adjust your plan with more mobile or desktop-friendly formats based on your campaign requirements. You can also check out the census population versus the YouTube population to understand your reach relating to the whole population or only the amount of people active on YouTube. Also, make sure you switch your CPM to on-target CPM. This will show you an estimate of how much you will have to pay on average for 1,000 impressions shown to your target audience. There is also another scenario I haven't touched on, in which your CPM has already been agreed before you start planning your campaign in the planning tool. This could happen because you've run activity in the past and you already have insights on what a realistic and good CPM should look like. In this case, you will have to go into settings on the right-hand side again, and instead of leaving the setting to default CPM, you will have to switch to custom CPM. What default CPM means is that this value will be updated throughout the planning process based on your settings, while switching to custom CPM will keep this value fixed. And finally, a plan can be exported as a CSV file or as a structured data file from the download button on the right side, and if you wish to share it to someone who doesn't have access to DV360. And final point, I mentioned this briefly during overview of the planning tool, but planning can also be the first step in your setup process in DV360. This is because you're able to start setting up insertion orders directly from the planning UI. By clicking on the setup buttons highlighted in the red box, you will be taken to the insertion order creation page. Something to bear in mind here, though, is that if you have a planner or planner limited access, this functionality will not be available. Or rather, it will be available, but it will not let you complete the creation of an insertion order, as planners and planners limited users cannot make any changes in that area of the platform. Traders instead, who have read and write access to the whole platform, will be able to use this setup feature as well. And now we'll jump into the platform and I will show you what the planning tool looks like in a live demo. The areas that I will cover are where to find the planning tool first, how to create a plan, how to add products, display, YouTube, and private deals, how to apply your targeting, how to adjust the advanced settings we looked at a few minutes ago, and how to download the plan as a CSV, and finally, how to set up insertion orders from the planning tool. So I will go ahead and share my screen now to show you in the platform. So first of all, let's have a look at where to find the planning tool. Once you're logged into your DV360 account, you will have to select the advertiser that you wish to create a media plan for. Once you're in there, all you have to do is either create a new campaign shell or select an existing one. At this stage, you don't need to have insertion orders or line items already set up. You can just have a campaign shell and that's perfectly fine. I will select one of the existing campaigns that I have under this demo advertiser. And if you look on the left-hand side menu, you will see an inventory section and you'll have to click on Plan. This will take you through the planning tool area. At the top, you will have some basic settings that I've selected in my campaign shell. Let's have a look at them. You can edit them in the planning area from here, but bear in mind that any changes that you make here will not reflect in the main setup area of DV360. This will only impact the plan. So I have here some plan spend, some plan dates, and the location where I want to run my campaign. I also have the exchanges that I wish to target and some demographics that I'm interested in targeting for this campaign. Finally, I've set up some brand safety settings to ensure I don't appear against sensitive content. If you're happy with what you already set up, just click on Save. If not, edit any of these elements before moving on to the next stage. You will see that you have 3 boxes down here. These are to add any products to your plan. So you can either select to add private deals if you've got PMPs or programmatic guaranteed deals with your publishers, or if you are planning on buying display and video through the open marketplace, then you have to select the second box. And finally, if you're planning on buying audio, there's a separate section for that. So for this demo, I will add an open auction display format to my plan. If you scroll down, you'll see all the available options here. And I will also put some provisional budget. You will see that this can be changed at a later stage. So now I've got my initial forecast with my budget, the forecasted reach of this demographic that I've already selected. However, this plan is kind of generic, so I want to add more targeting to it. All you have to do is click on Edit against the product that you're interested in changing and add in some targeting settings. So I'll add a few things here just to see how the plan changes. So I can add an audience. I will add an affinity audience for this activity, but you can also exclude the first and third party audiences and Google audiences. I will also add some page categories. So let's say I'm interested in this, but not in that category. Click on apply. You can also add a whitelist or a blacklist if you have one. You can select what devices you wish to target. And you can select the creative sizes that you've got available. So let's say I've only got a few of them. It makes sense to forecast for them. The last two elements were brand safety and inventory sources, but we've already selected this at campaign level, so I wouldn't have changed those. As you can see, my plan has updated. So now with £10,000, I can only reach about 6%, but my audience is much more refined. So this is the use case of having a fixed budget and trying to understand what kind of reach that money can bring you. However, if you had the opposite use case, so if you had a target reach and a flexible budget, all you will have to do is that you will have to go into adjust your plan and change here the reach percentage. So let's say I want to reach 10%. My budget will automatically update and show me how much I would need in order to target those people. It will also show me how frequently I will reach them. I could also see my on-target CPM for these people, so I can better forecast how many impressions I am likely to get for my budget. And you can also have some census information here and compare it against the YouTube population or the digital population. You can also see how much a viewable CPM will cost you and your predicted viewability rate. If you're happy with this plan, then you can go ahead and save and close. If not, you can add another format. So let's say I want to add some bumpers for an additional £1,000. Then my forecast will be updated. Again, here in the bumper section, I wouldn't have any of the targeting criteria that I've selected for my open auction display product. So I will have to go back into it and add them in. So if you've got some targeting that will apply to all your products, what we recommend that you do is that you add them in to your campaign shell already so that you have them pre-filled. If instead you're not sure about these and you want to tweak things around to find out what kind of combination of products and formats could bring you the most value, then leave it as empty as possible, like I did, and then change things up in the planning tool. So let's say here I want to target a different audience. Then click on apply here, apply there, and the forecast will update. Once you're happy with your plan, what you can also do is check out the demographic split. This makes more sense if you're not already targeting a demographic. So I'll show you what it looks like if I were interested in targeting all people. This will be a breakdown by gender and age group, so I can see where my audience, how my audience is distributed. And you can also check out what devices my audience will be on, so you can better allocate your budget in this sense as well. So I'll go back to the specific age and gender that I selected in the beginning, and you'll see that this updates. Once you're happy with that, you can save to plan and close this. And you'll be brought back to this view where you have a recap of your products, your running dates, your costs, your forecasted reach, and viewability. If you are a planner user role in DV360, what you can do is that you can share this plan with anybody who has already access to the platform by just telling them to log into the planning area. So you don't have to send any links to anything, because this is widely accessible to anybody who has read access to the platform. If instead you wish to download this as a CSV file and send to a client, for example, you can do so by hitting these 3 dots on the side and click on Export Plan Summary. If you wish to download this as an SDF and re-upload it in the other area of the platform, you can do so as well. Or if you wish to set things up and you're happy with what your plan looks like, you can click the Setup button here, and this will take you straight to the creation of an insertion order and line items. So it is a streamlined way, if you already have right access to the platform, to both create a plan and also set up insertion orders and line items in one go. If instead you have a user planner role, then you wouldn't be able to set things up. So this is a limitation on the planner user role that has only access to the planning tool. If you're happy with these, then you can go on and create your insertion orders. If not, then you can just go back to your plan, keep amending it until you reach the best forecast for your campaign, and it is as targeted as possible.
Thank you, Greta. That was really useful. So if anyone has any more questions, please submit them now. If we don't manage to answer them in the next few minutes, then we'll follow up with you later directly. One question submitted by Pedro was, what features does DV360 offer that are not available in Google Ads? So I'm going to assume that you're asking this in the context of the 2 platform reach planning tools rather than more generally, Pedro. The main difference is that Google Ads Rich Planner only allows for planning of video, whereas DV360 covers both video and display. Also with Google Ads, you're only planning for inventory on Google's display network, whereas DV360 enables you to plan across non-Google exchanges as well. The difference is that in DV360, you also have the ability to overlay first and third party audiences into your plan, which is not true of the Google Ads tool. And one more thing worth mentioning is that in DV360, you can set up an individual user with the role called planner that Greta mentioned. That's not something that exists in Google Ads, but it can be very useful for advertisers and agencies where there is a clear distinction between the planners and the buyers. Essentially, the planner can give access to everything that you need in order to create a plan, but without the ability to activate it. So this gives everyone peace of mind that real money won't be spent on real activity accidentally. So the planning tools do have superficial similarities, but if you look beneath the surface, there are lots of differences, and that will be true to say of the 2 platforms in general. Now we have a few more questions coming, Greta, so I'm just going to go through them one by one, if that's okay with you. The first one is, can I add a whitelist to my plan?
Yes, so you can add a whitelist or a blacklist in the planning tool. All you have to do is to add it on the right-hand side where you apply the targeting, and it will be under content and channels.
Excellent. And another is, does the planning tool work with custom affinity and custom intent audiences?
No, so unfortunately, the planning tool doesn't support custom affinity or custom intent audiences. What you can use is first-party audiences, Google audiences, and third-party audiences, both for positive targeting or negative targeting.
Right. And a more broad question is simply, how do I set up a deal in DV360?
All right. So there are two ways of setting up deals in DV360. One is from the planning tool while you set up your plan. So you would select the box for private deals and you can set it up from there, or you can set it up from the marketplace. My personal preference would be to set it up in the marketplace first and then add it into your plan, but you're free to experiment with whatever way suits you best.
Excellent. A question that's already been answered, but I'll answer it for anyone that can't see the responses. Yes, a recording will be provided after the session. You'll get that directly over email. That's probably all that we have time for within the session itself, though. So look forward to that email that you'll get, and feel free to share that with your colleagues, as there'll be a replay function within that email. Finally, if you want to learn more about how DQ&A by Incubeta can help you with DV360 or other Google Marketing Platform products, please get in touch with us via gbezzini@dqna.com or mturner@dqna.com, and we'll include those details in our follow-up emails as well. So thanks for joining today, and have a great day.